Greetings, greetings. What a group. Jenna and Josh have really started something, haven't they? Wow. Back this up a bit. Thank you. I've been looking forward to coming here. You know, I came over to Vegas one day just to sit down and talk to Josh and Jenna. And I was pretty fascinated with what they were doing. They're so young and so alive, and they built something so phenomenal, really. You have something really to be proud of in those two, I'll tell you. They're great leaders. This afternoon, I'm going to share with you some of the information that I've been gathering over the past 58 years. I sat down with a man who was 58 years ago, and I'm telling you, I was lost. I didn't know which end was up. And he gave me this book. Now, I'm going to come back and refer to it a few times, but he said, if you do what this book suggests, he said, you can have anything you want. Now, at the time, I was 26. I was flat broke. I was earning $4,000 a year, and I owed $6,000. So if I had worked for 18 months and just paid debt, I would have nothing to live on to break even. It was an impossible situation. And I think there's a lot of people that get into a place where they feel it's an impossible situation. That it doesn't seem to matter what they do, they can't win. But I have come to learn that there's no such thing as an impossible situation. There's only situations that we have difficulty accepting. If we listen to someone that's done what we would love to do and then do exactly what they tell us, we're going to win. Now, that was a very unusual thing for me to do because I was 26, I'd been out of the Navy, I've been fired from all kinds of jobs. I would never do what anybody told me to do. In fact, I resented anybody telling me to do something. And so I had a very closed mind. I wasn't going to go far or do anything. And he said, read this book. Well, I didn't even read comic books. I had never read a book. But I'm going to tell you, when I started to read that and listen to him, and he said, do exactly what I tell you until you find out I'm lying or that I don't know what I'm talking about. He didn't tell lies, and he didn't know what he was talking about. And my life started to change. And so I want to share some of that with you and talk about where we're going and what we're doing. We talk about connecting the dots. Most people never learn how to connect the dots. School doesn't teach us how to connect the dots. And so a lot of people are wandering around, they don't know what to do. Their life isn't going where they want it to go, they're not doing what they want to do, and they're stuck. And they don't know how to change it. What I'm going to share with you is how to change any situation you've got. And you can connect the dots. We're going to talk about how to earn more money. I love earning money. I just absolutely love it. Now, you see, money enables us to do the things we want to do. Money enables you to extend the good you do far beyond your own presence. My partner and I made a decision a number of years ago. We were going to build schools in Africa. We build a new school every 2.5 weeks. Our goal is to build one every day. So we couldn't do that if we didn't have money. It cost a lot of money. So there's thousands of children now that are getting nutritious food, warm clothing, just everything under getting educated. Because we have a little bit of money. Money makes you more of what you already are. If you're not a nice person, you'll become terrible. If you are a nice person, you'll become a nicer person. Money is like a magnifier, but it's the medium of exchange that's used all over the world. So for a person to say it's not important, it's absurd. It is important. It's vitally important. Then we want to add to that. We want to enjoy more freedom. You see, we've got the ability to create the kind of life we want, but it doesn't happen by accident. Yet, if you don't gain an awareness of who you are and what makes you tick, odds are pretty good you'll never be free. Most people live in a little cage of their own making, and they don't even know it. I want to share stuff with you that'll help you begin to live the life that you're really designed to live. You see, you and I are God's highest form of creation. There's nothing on the planet that will equal us. Now, I often point out that we're the only creature on the planet that's totally disoriented in our environment. It's true. All the other little creatures are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. We don't. We've been given the mental faculties to create our own environment. Yes, just that most people don't do a very good job of it. School doesn't teach us how to do it. You go right through our educational system, come out and know virtually nothing about yourself. Now, I want you to take your phone and look at it. I usually have mine in my pocket. I left it backstage. But take your phone for a moment, look at it. And think of this. Let each of those lines on the screen represent a level of vibration. Everything the phone can do, you can do with your marvelous mind. We refer to these levels of vibration as frequencies. And there's an infinite number of frequencies. Now your cell phone has its own frequency. If I've got your number in my phone, I can hit send, bang, you get the message. Doesn't matter where you are. I could take a picture, hit send, and simultaneously with me hitting it, you'll have it. See, in truth, there isn't any time or space. That's an illusion. We're dealing here with energy, and we're dealing with frequencies. We're dealing with energy. Everybody's phone has its own frequency. Well, so do people. You can transfer pictures from your mind to somebody else's mind on the other side of the world just the same as you can with your phone. Now, most people never really gain an understanding of that or how to do that, but everything you're thinking, you're sending off charges of energy. Thought is energy. Thought waves are cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space. Thought waves makes the laser look puny. Yes, the most potent form of energy is, most people don't really know much about it. They don't think very much about it. Every great leader that has ever lived has been in complete and unanimous agreement that you and I become what we think about. They've disagreed on almost everything else but that one point. We truly do become what we think about. Most people think of what they don't want. They spend time thinking about what they don't. I get so sick of living this way. I'm so tired of never being able to afford it. I'm so sick of not taking a nice vacation. I'm so sick, and that's all they're talking about. And they're attracting it. They've magnetized themselves to what they don't want. When I sat down and talked to Jenna, I felt like I was in an echo chamber. And she'd say things, and I felt like something was coming back at me, Well, I want to take anything you've heard me say, I want to explain it. It's like I was saying to Jenna, I don't see myself, I'm not a public speaker. That's not how I see me. I've never belonged to a speaker bureau. I don't sell myself as a speaker. I see myself more as a teacher. When I figured out how the mind and how life works, all I want to do is teach it to somebody else, because my life had changed so dramatically. Well, if we will think of the phone, get it straight in your mind. Your mind works like the phone. Now look, when you get on another person's frequency, you're one with them and magic begins to happen. That's what happens. You can dial a number, somebody could be in Kosovo. Oh, hi, how are you doing? They're on the other side of the world. Do you know, I live in Toronto. I worked in Kuala Lumpur a lot. I went there every month for 5 years. It's 25 hours in the air from Toronto to KL. If you go any further, you're coming back. It's as far as you can go. It takes 25 hours in the air to get there from Toronto. But I can touch the phone, bang, they're there. This is like magic. Well, do you know that everything we want is already here? You're going to find nothing's created or destroyed. Everything's already here, but we've got to get on the frequency that it's on. We've got to get on in tune with it. And when we do, it comes flying at us. Now, what The Secret didn't do, it didn't teach you much about the law of attraction. Talked a lot about it, but didn't teach much about it. Law of attraction is a secondary law. It's not a primary law at all. The law of vibration is the primary law. That law decrees everything vibrates, nothing rests. This whole building and everything in it, you and me and everything in it, is moving. It's energy and it moves. It's in a very high speed of vibration. This body we're living in moves. As we activate brain cells, everything in us starts to change. And we can activate those brain cells at will. So do you see, when you get on another person's frequency, magic starts to happen. When you sit down to invite a person into the business, don't be in a rush. Get to talk to them. Find out where they're from. What are they doing? What do they really want in life? Get to know them and listen. Most people don't listen. They talk and they hear, but they don't listen. You hear with your ears. You listen with your emotions. There's a big, big difference. You can hear what I'm saying. Are you really listening to it? Are you letting it sink right in? That's what I learned we have to do. Now, everything you want is also on its own frequency. I don't know what you want. If I were to sit with you one-on-one, that's what I would be digging for. I would be asking questions, and I would be wanting to figure out, what do you want? And you know, most people don't know what they want. If you don't really draw it out of them, you're not going to find out. Don't assume that they do know what they want, because hardly anyone does. Yet the bizarre part of this is they can have anything they want. You see, what's happening in this company, it's unusual, probably relative to the way you relate to companies and your life. But relative to the law, it's not unusual at all. It's somebody that knows what they're doing and they do it right. So what you want to do is become one with it. Find out what the person wants, become one with it. Now, look at your present results right now. I want you to really think about your results. If you're thinking about your income, look at your income. You're talking about relationships, look at your relationships. If you're talking about your health, really take a good look at it. You're attracting what you're in harmony with. Now, if somebody had told me that when I first started, I wouldn't have liked it, because I didn't like what was coming into my life. I didn't like it at all. But we've got to understand, nobody's given it to us. If it's coming, we've earned it. If we don't like it, we can change it. It's so basic and so simple. Energy attracts like energy. This thing we're living in is a molecular structure. It's a massive energy and high speed of vibration. That photograph there would be Kirlian photography. In 1934, Semyon Kirlian, a Russian, perfected a form of photography, and you could photograph mass, and the energy coming from it would penetrate the camera, penetrate the film, and he perfected what's called today Kirlian photography. Well, there's a glow of energy around you. You can train yourself to see it, and you can certainly feel it. Yet whatever we're thinking controls the vibration we're in. Because as we think, we activate brain cells, and that's what causes us to vibrate. Like for me to move my arm up and down, I had to activate brain cells to do that. You often hear of a person maybe taking a stroke. The brain is the greediest part of the body when it comes to blood. Well, if the blood stops for some reason to go to a group of cells in the brain, those cells die. That's the electrical system's cut off. And then the arm's just hanging. Won't work. But we have found, now they used to leave them like that until they died, we found if you move the arm, open the hand, close the hand, move the arm, you will educate healthy cells to do what the damaged cells can no longer do, and the person gets the use of the limb back. But what they've done is reprogram other brain cells. Now, what you're thinking dictates how you feel. Feeling is the language of the subconscious. When you say, I feel, what you're really talking about is the vibration you're in. You say, I feel terrible. You're in a terrible vibration. Change your thinking. But you know, a person in a terrible vibration doesn't want to hear that. It's almost like they want to enjoy their misery. You know people like that. Now you see somebody else and they say, God, I just feel phenomenal. That they are choosing good pictures. Well, make a decision to become one with whatever you want. Now, I would imagine there's someone here that is very new in the company. You just started, and you're here at the conference, and you don't even know what the positions are, but you want to go right to the top. Well, find out what that top position is and act as if you're already there. Now, how would you do that? Well, find somebody that's there and see how they act. Listen to them, find out what they talk about. Watch them, see how they work. Then say, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, I have been teaching this for a long, long time, and every now and then I see somebody that's doing that. Do you know what the problem with most people? They don't know what they want. They really don't know what they want. And it's rather sad because you can have anything you want. There is absolutely no limits, none. Now, you know, there's a part of our mind that understands that, our intellect can grasp that, but does our paradigm, does our emotional mind grasp it? Most people's emotional mind won't grab it. Well, I just can't grab that, you know. I mean, anything you want? Yeah, anything. Anything. You can create your own economy. You create your own life. Now, the truth is we're already doing it, just that most people don't know what it is they're doing. And they go all the way through their life and they never learn how to do this, how to make it work. Now, that's all I deal in, because I learned how to make it work. And I'll mention that as we go through. But you see, I do know this, it's all about the mind. And it's about your marvelous mind. Now, here's what we want to know. There's only one mind. We don't have a few thousand minds in here. We have one mind. Everyone's an expression of mind. Mind is movement. Body's the manifestation of the movement. When we really get that, when that sinks in to that part of us where we say we get it, then we could look at somebody else that's really doing well, yet they're using their mind a lot better than me. I wonder what the hell they're doing. I think I'll study and figure it out. Now, it's a strange thing. Usually the people that aren't doing well don't want to study. They just want the answer, but they don't want to earn it. If you make up your mind you're going to study and you're going to figure out what do these people at the top do, I guarantee you things will get better. Now, Buckminster Fuller is somebody that I was fascinated with, great architect, designer. He said, you never change things by fighting existing reality. Now, if some of you, if you're having problems in your marriage, you may be fighting existing reality. If you're having trouble with your business, you may be fighting existing reality. You're trying to change this. You're trying to change them. Well, you're trying to change something, forget it. You never change things by fighting existing reality. To change things, you build a new model. That makes the existing model obsolete. Now, I did that 58 years ago. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I really didn't. But I found someone that I trusted. That's important. You want to be trusted if you're going to bring people into your business. Billy Sharp, one time with the Stone Foundation in Chicago, a psychologist, he taught me something that I found very important. He said, a person will not share their problem with you until they feel you've got the solution to their problem. If they don't feel you could help them, they're not going to share it with you. They're not going to open up. Well, he said, to change things, you build a new model. I had a man help me build a new model. My life changed like Jenna's or Josh's. I mean, whoa, it was so fast. People stopped talking to me. Friends that I thought were friends, they stopped talking to me. They resented the fact that I was winning, I think. I didn't never figure that out at the time, but I thought, I'm not going to let that bother me. That was a big move in itself. Now, if you really want to make your business rock, build a new model. Treat this conference as the turning point. Say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to listen to the leaders and I'm going to do exactly what they tell me, even if you don't like it. And you may not like it, because what they're going to tell you to do is not in harmony with your habitual nature. They're going to tell you to do something that's more in harmony with their habitual nature. See, the beautiful part of this industry is that there's leaders. Now, there isn't as many as there's going to be, but there's leaders. If we study them, we'll see what they're doing, and we can do what they're doing. Now, I remember him telling me that. He said, just do exactly what I tell you. Now, you know, I had spent a number of years in the Canadian Navy. I had worked in bars and in factories. In fact, I couldn't hold a job. I had a terrible work record. I had a bad attitude. I mean, I was just about, you wouldn't want me even on your team. I mean, I was just that kind of a, no, you really wouldn't. I mean, I was a dead loser. And the idea that I could win was just so far removed. And you see, I would never do what I was told. And God only knows why, but when this guy said, do exactly what I tell you, his name was Ray Stanford, I decided to do it. And it didn't take me long to realize I made a wise decision, because compensation comes fast when you start doing the right things. Things start to change fast. You don't have to wait a long time, you know. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to become a millionaire tomorrow, but you're going to feel better about what you're doing right away. You're going to see immediate results in little things. If you're observant, you'll watch your life change right before your eyes. This is so good, and unfortunately, most people are extras in their own movie. They are. They're extras in their own movie. Why would they do that? It's their movie. They're underwriting it. They're the director. They're producer. They're the casting agent. They're the director. And they're extras. Somebody else is the star. Oh, look at him. Look at her. Will you see that? Wow. And they're just looking. They don't realize their life is their movie. It's like Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. And it really is. Now, you see, you should ask yourself, who's the director of your movie? If you figure out what you really want, I can show you how to get it. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. but I know how to do that. I'm going to start by telling you a story. You see, if let's suppose you're relatively new in the business, you haven't done a whole lot of studying, and somebody said you can have anything you want, it'd become pretty acceptable that you wouldn't accept that. Well, and then somebody said, well, there's limits to what you can do. Not everybody's the same. I got a call. I was right here. I think for a second where I was. I was here in Vegas, and a guy named Ed Morrissey phoned me. And he said, Bob, I'm here with a guy. He's reading your book. He doesn't believe I know you. I said, okay. So he said, will you talk to him? And I said, yeah, if he wants to talk to me. So this guy got on the phone, and he's thanking me for this book. He loved the book Born Rich. He was really into the Born Rich. Anybody that wants it, they can go to our site, go to proctorgallagher.com, and you can download it for nothing. You were born rich. And this guy was going nuts over the book, and he's telling me this all over the phone. And then he said, whereabouts are you? I said, what do you mean, where am I? Well, where are you now? And I said, I'm in Las Vegas. He said, could I come and see you? And I said, yeah, if you want. He said, well, I'm in LA, so he says, it won't take me long. Now, I'm going back about 18, 19 years. Guy's name's Phil Goldfein. And he got here, so I built a bit of a rapport with him. I'm rapping back and forth. And I said, Phil, what's the most you've ever earned in a year? That's one of the first things I ask people. I don't care what the answer is, but I want to know what the answer is. When a person tells you what they earned, you've got an idea of where their mind is programmed. Because you can measure money right to the cent. You can't measure your health like that. You can't measure relationships. You can't measure anything as accurately as you can measure money. You go to a doctor and they'll say you're in perfect health, and you walk out and drop dead. That happens. How did he measure you so wrong? You know? But with money right to the penny. I don't really care what they earn, but I want to know. And then that gives me an idea where they're programmed, because you're all programmed. We're all I am, you are. And he said $250,000. Now, he later told me he lied. And I suspected it when he said it. He'd earn about 200. And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a film producer. I said, are you any good? Well, I think so. I said, well, you're not very good if you're earning 200,000. Well, I don't know. I said, what do you really want? He said, I want to earn millions of dollars. I said, well, I can show you how to do that. I know how to earn millions of dollars. I said, is that all you want? No, he said, I want to win an Oscar. I said, I can show you how to do that. He said, really? I said, yeah. Is that all you want? No, he said, I want to win an Emmy. Well, I said, I can show you how to do that. And he looked at me like, you know, what the hell are you talking about? Like, it didn't matter what he says, I could tell him how to do it. Do you know that everything you get, you're going to get the same way? Doesn't matter what it is. There are laws that govern this whole universe. One of the laws that Carnegie gave us, that's one of the best, he said, any idea that is held in the mind, any idea, doesn't matter what it is, any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that you keep thinking about. Now get this, that's either feared or revered. You know, the great sufferer Job in the Bible, he says, lo, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. Hold a bad idea, worry, you're going to get it, make book on it, you can take it to the bank. He said, any idea that's held in the mind that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin to close itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. That's the perpetual law of transmutation. That's a law of the universe. Energy is always moving into form. Whatever you're thinking about, it's moving into form. I don't care, is it an Oscar you want? I'll show you how to get it. Now, let me share something with you. See where these statistics are. Okay? I can read this from here. The number of professional filmmakers in the world in 2018, there were 3,500,000. That's a reasonably pretty good competition, isn't it? Now, the number of feature films that were released in 2018, 12,198. 3,500,000 filmmakers, only 12,198 films made in 2018. The number of films that even competed for an Oscar, 341. I mean, it's getting pretty tight, isn't it? The number of Oscars awarded each year, just 24. Here I am. I'll show you how to get that. Now look at this. A person is 3.83 times more likely to get struck by lightning than they are win an Oscar. The odds of winning an Oscar are about equal to the odds of finding a pearl in an oyster. $3,072 Oscars have been awarded since they began in 1930. And here I am saying, I'll show you how to get it. Is that what you want? I'll show you how to get it. Well, look at it. Of those, only 26 people have also won an Emmy and a Tony. See, the Oscars are for movies. Emmys are for television, Tonys for Broadway. I mean, can you see what a little game amongst, there's not many winners. Of course, there's not many at the top of this company either. There can be hundreds of thousands of affiliates. How many at the top? You know something? They're no different than the person that's brand new today. They only appear to be different. They earn a little more money every minute. You know, I have an affirmation. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I've been repeating that for years. You like it? It's so good, isn't it? Love it. When we go to bed at night, I know as I go to sleep, it's still coming in. And in the morning, I never counted. I don't even know how to count it, but I could get people to count it. And I was earning it while I was sleeping. Yes, see, the beautiful truth is, when you really understand this, you can earn more money when you're sleeping than you're going to spend when you're awake. It's a nice idea. Well, there's the guy, and there's the Oscar. I had him stand up in a seminar in Los Angeles, stand up on a chair and give his acceptance speech after he had been nominated for an Oscar, but they haven't announced who was going to win. This was about a week before they announced who the winners were. I had him stand up in front of hundreds of people and give his acceptance speech for winning the Oscar. And he won it. There he is with his Oscar and his Emmy. Now, I'm not saying this to impress you, but to impress upon you, this guy knew nothing about what I'm talking about when he came here to Vegas to see me. He is without question one of the best students I've ever met. If I suggest he does, I never wonder whether he's going to do it. I know he's going to do it. If I say study this, I know he's going to study it. Never a question in my mind. He also won, I forgot what it's called in China, that's equal to the Oscar here. I don't know how old Phil is, but he'd probably admit to being 50. He was taking his 4-year-old son about 10 years ago swimming at a local college down in Los Angeles area. And he'd sit in the stage in the side and said about they're 50 pounds overweight, and little boy's swimming, and coach said, "Did you ever swim?" Phil said, "I used to swim in college." He said, "Why didn't you bring your bathing suit? Get in here, it'll do you good." Well, the kid's getting his lessons. Do you know Phil Goldfine today is in better shape than when he was in his college days, and he swims now anchor for gold medal Olympic swimmers. You see, everything, all things are possible if you understand the law. If you understand the laws of your being. Does it make sense to study it? I think so. He phoned me one day and he said, "Bob, how would you like to go to opening night of Tootsie on Broadway?" I said, "Yeah, I'd like that, Phil." He said, "I'm going to win a Tony." So I flew down to New York, and the two of us went to opening night. And you know something? He's got his Tony. Now, he was the 27th person to win an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony. He earns millions of dollars. I've asked him at different times, "Phil, how many movies would a producer make in a year?" Well, he said, "I don't know." He said, "Maybe one or two, maybe every 3 years." He's already made 10 this year. He is one of the busiest producers in Los Angeles. He teaches other people now. He teaches them the same thing I taught him. See, this works for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a film producer or whether you're a network marketer. It doesn't make any difference what you are. I don't care if you were losing. Nobody could have been losing better than me. I mean, hell, I was unhappy, I was sick, I was broke, I didn't know the war was over. I had been kicked out of school in grade 9 after 2 months. I've always known if I could win, anybody could win. I've always known that. I was losing, I was going the wrong direction at such a rapid clip. Yet I knew when I turned around and could do it, anybody could. In fact, I was talking to classification one time at Kingston Penitentiary. That's maximum security in Canada. And they got me to go in. I said, "Only under my terms I'll go in." So I said, "Anybody that's in there that wants to come and hear me, you got to let them out." Well, I said, "You can't let them all out." And I said, "All of them or none of them, I won't go." Well, I stuck to my guns, and finally they did. Now, there was a guy, Joe Gardner. He's gone now, God bless him, but he turned into a very good friend. Big guy. I mean, physically, he was big. And he had been sentenced to 27 years in penitentiary. He had been in solitary confinement for 7.5 years. That meant he got an hour a day out in the yard by himself. Other than that, he's in a little cell all by himself. 7.5 years. It's no wonder he hadn't gone out of his mind. And he would come to those meetings because I was taking coffee and donuts and cigarettes. I was baiting the hook, you say. What the hell? I mean, whatever it takes, you get him in there. And you know how they have these long tables, like, put stuff on, and he would sit, there would be a table at the back of the room, everybody else is in chairs, and he'd sit in the back and swinging his legs, and this guy'd be drinking coffee, eating donuts, smoking cigarettes. He was like an animal. And I'd say something serious, "Oh, that's about that crap." Everybody was afraid of this guy, including me. And he was really in charge of the meeting. Everybody'd laugh, he'd laugh. I wasn't making any headway. It's 165 miles from Toronto to Kingston. Now, there's no stop lights, no traffic lights, it's just straight highway, so it's not a bad drive. All the way down there, I was scared. I was afraid of this guy. But I also knew that if I continued the way I was going, I might as well quit going there. And I didn't want to do that because I was pretty firm with classification when they let me in. So after about the 3rd time of doing this, I would go once a month. I mustered up all the courage I could driving down there. And I started to teach this class, and right at a serious part, he started to laugh. I just put whatever I had in my hand down. I went back. I stood right in front of him. We were face to face. And I'm going to tell you, that was the bravest moment of my life. I said, "You've got to be the dumbest bastard I've ever met." Well, this guy, you could see his face go red, every muscle in his body tightened up. I thought he was going to kill me. And just as fast as he went like that, all of a sudden he started to laugh. I guess he thought, this guy is really crazy doing that. Now, this all happened in a few milliseconds. I mean, it didn't take a week or something like that. You know, I told him I thought he was crazy. And I followed up by saying, "I can tell that screw to open the door. I can go out and get in a car and drive away from here. They're putting you back in a cell for another month. I could show you how to get out of here." Well, he didn't say anything more. He was quiet through that meeting. The next month when I went down, he was sitting in the front row. And if anybody shuffled their feet, he'd look at them. He was like the cop. Do you know, he got out on a special ticket. Now, his wife, he'd been there 7.5 years. His wife had a little girl while he was in there. And, of course, it wasn't his little girl. He had 2 boys. There was a priest, Bobby Cadet, who built a friendship with Joe while he was in there. And he went and arranged, and he got Edie, his wife, to come back with him. He treated that little girl like it was his little girl. When I decided I was going to go and open an office in London, England, in my company, and I went down the parole board. Ignorance, there's a lot to say about ignorance. I'm hammering on the desk, you got no right keeping this guy on parole. Now, he had to report to the city police every week, and the Mounties, the federal police, every month. I said, "He's the best guy I've got. I want to take him to England." They tore up his parole, give him his passport, and away he went. Yeah. Now, I'm telling you that for this reason. Phil Goldfein had all his faculties, he just didn't understand the rules for winning. Joe didn't seem to have any of his faculties. He became very, very successful. Phil is very successful. Joe's gone now. I have seen kids in school that were miserable failures. And the parents start teaching them this, they go to AB average overnight. See, a kid isn't getting a C and D because they're stupid. They're getting a C and D because they got such low self-esteem. They know the answers, they know the material, they don't believe that they can do well. And so they're not going to do well. If we were to teach them something about themselves, help them build a very good image of themselves, they would win and ace their exams. And don't say they wouldn't, because I've seen it happen. Okay? Now, Phil got the Oscar, he got the Emmy, and he got the Tony. He's earned millions of dollars. He's still going like a rocket. And he has no intentions of slowing down. But he does exactly what I tell him. Now, I don't tell him what to eat or what time to go to bed. When the man said to me, when Ray Stanford said to me, "Do exactly what I tell you," what he meant is, if I tell you to study something, study it. He told me, he said, Napoleon Hill spent almost his whole life putting this book together. He said, "I think it would be a prudent move on your part if you spent the rest of your life trying to understand and apply what he put together." So I said, "I want you to read that every day." I've read that every day since October the 21st, 1961. Some of you, that was before your grandmother was born. I took a pen. In 1973, I left the Nightingale Konyak Corporation. I was sitting in a room, in a little den, in a house on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois, and I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do it. Our company is represented now in 110 countries. Now, I mention this I mentioned Joe, and I mentioned Phil. There's somebody here that maybe has a little low self-esteem. Maybe your self-image isn't as strong as it should be. And so you might be thinking, well, I couldn't do that, I couldn't do that. Listen, you can do anything. No one can even guess at what you're capable of. When the leader says, do this, do it. And don't worry about what your relatives or next door neighbor says. Because they're going to tell you you're being silly, or you got one of those meetings, or you're going to do one of those stupid things. Don't listen to them. I have learned that if you will pick a real good mentor or coach, then do exactly what they tell you, you're going to start winning beyond your wildest dreams. Now, I went from doing that with Ray Stanford, then I went to work with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant. All I wanted to do was work with Earl, and I got Lloyd too, his business partner. He was phenomenal. I mean, those two men, what I learned from them was incredible. I spent 5 years working with them. Another fellow, Leela Van der Waal out in Western Canada. Another guy, Dr. Harry Roeder. These people are all gone today. But what I'm showing you and what I'm going to teach you is what they taught me. I didn't originate any of this information. But I've used it. Yet I never stopped studying it. This company is obviously moving in the right direction. The best positions aren't even open yet. You have no idea where this company's going. Make up your mind that you're going right to the top. Don't fool around with the next pin. Go right to the top. Think like they think. Study what they study. Work like they work. And I guarantee you it'll all fall into place, because that's the way it works. Now, Phil phoned me just a couple of weeks ago. That's a terrible picture, but it was taken with his phone, transferred to my phone, and I took and made a slide off my phone. He told me, he said, about 2 weeks ago, he said, Bob, I'm going to go for another Oscar for the movie Claire. And so he started to tell me, I said, Phil, I'll tell you what to do. Go get a photograph of yourself holding the Oscar in one hand, the one you've got, and then have a photograph taken with the Oscar in the other hand, and then get somebody in Photoshop to take and put it together so that you got one in both hands. Take a picture, carry it with you, stare at it, you put that in your subconscious mind, it has to happen. There's a picture of him holding both trophies. When he keeps burying that in his subjective mind, it has to move into forth. See, your subjective mind is universal intelligence. Universal intelligence just works one way. And it's like the earth, it's immoral. It doesn't care what you plant, but it'll return what you plant. Whatever you're getting emotionally involved with is going to materialize in your life. If you're emotionally involved with problems, make book on it, you're going to get more of the same thing. That's where I was living when I met Ray. He said, Bob, every time you catch yourself thinking of what you don't want, stop and think of what you do want. He said, set a goal, put it on a card and carry the card in your pocket. Gold cards are something I've carried now for going on 60 years, 58 years. Now, when you set a goal, what you're doing is you're taking a picture in your mind and you're painting the picture in words. It's like Van Gogh was asked how he did such beautiful work. He said, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. Write your goal on a card, carry the card loose in your pocket. Now what happens when I put my hand in my pocket and I touch the card, the sensory factor touch is affected. It sends a light message, rifle firing through my central nervous system, strikes those cells in my brain, they're activated, and the picture of my goal flashes on my mind. So you see, it's all electronic. You're much like your phone or like your computer. You're in charge. And you can dictate what pictures you want coming on your mind. And that picture must move into form. That's an absolute law. Now, Phil sent me the picture, so I put it up there for you to see. We're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. That's the only limit we've got. Weakness of attention, got to focus on what it is you want. You've got to give it your undivided attention. And poverty of imagination. Use your imagination to build enormous pictures. See great things happening in your life. Imagine Jenna and Josh sitting when they were first starting. Do you think they could see this room in the Mirage full, thousands of people? That's right. Most people say, oh, they wouldn't see that. They must have, or they wouldn't have it. You wouldn't be here if they hadn't imaged it. What you're seeing is the manifestation of something that was going on in their mind. Now, how did they get this picture? They let it come on the screen of the mind. What pictures are you holding on the screen of your mind? The only limit is weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Now, attention is drawn through your higher faculty, the will. The will gives you the ability to focus on one idea to the exclusion of all outside distractions, okay? Now, there's two things that you have to know if you really want to live your dream. You have to know where you are, you have to know where you're going, and you got to move in that direction. Now, why are there so many people stuck? Think. If we think about this, it's so simple. Why are so many people stuck? You'll find people right here in this room that are stuck. Well, there's a couple of answers to that. One, you'd say they don't have a goal, and I don't necessarily think that would be the right one, because even though they may not be too articulate with it, they might not have it written on a card that they carry in their pocket, they probably can tell you something they want. They maybe haven't really refined it or written it out, but they're talking about something they want. They would have a goal. It's just not very sophisticated. I think the problem lies down here. This problem right here is where you are. Most people don't know where they are. See if you can relate to this. When I was a kid, my mother would say, why'd you do that? I say, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You know better. I know. Well, why'd you do it? I don't know. School teachers, Bob, why'd you do that? I don't know. Well, you know better. I know. Well, why'd you do it? I don't know. I went in the Navy. Every commanding officer, proctor, yes, sir. Why'd you do that? I don't know, sir. Hell you talking about you don't know? You know better. I know. Why'd you do it? I don't know. Now I got married. My wife says, why are you doing that? I said, drop it right there. Now think, we're doing things we don't want to do. It's giving us results we don't want to get, and we don't know why we're doing it. Think about this. You already know how to do a lot better than you're doing. I know how to do a lot better than I'm doing. Our problem is not that we don't know. We do know. Our problem is in paradigms. We throw that back up. There you go. Look it. Here's the problem right here. It's in paradigms. Now, I want you to ask yourself, don't ask anybody else, if someone asked you to explain exactly what a paradigm is, how well do you think you'd do? Most people wouldn't do very well. If you went and looked up, we know it's to do with the mind, if you went and looked it up in, I don't know, some kind of a book on psychology or behavioral science or psychiatry, you'd get an answer that you probably wouldn't even understand. A paradigm is what's in control of our life to a very large degree. And it's the paradigm that had me doing things I didn't want to do, even though I knew how to do better. My mother didn't know what was wrong, my teachers didn't know what was wrong, and the commanding officers I had in the Navy, they did not know why. They would say, Proctor, why'd you do that? I don't know, sir. Well, you know better. They didn't know that there was a paradigm in control of me. I didn't know it. And so I got in trouble for doing something I knew better, but I did it anyway. Everybody in this room that's been into the company for even a short length of time, you already know how to do better than you're doing. That is not our problem. My income went from 4,000 to 175 almost overnight. Yet wasn't that I didn't know how. I did know how. I wasn't doing what I knew. That's the problem that keep people stuck. If we go back to the screen, now look. Back that up. Went way too fast there. How'd that happen? We say the paradigm is a huge problem for almost everyone. That is for your leaders. That's for Jen and Josh. That's for Bob. That's for the person next to you. It's for your parents. It's for everyone. Now let's take a look at what a paradigm is. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Now think, a paradigm is a program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And get this, almost all of our behavior is habitual. Now don't take my word for this and just listen to it as a talk that you're getting at a convention. Stop and think, if you're living with someone, what do they do when they get up in the morning? There's a pattern, there's a routine that they fall into. You could almost write a book on it. And if you're living with someone, you don't mess with their routine in the morning. They just quiet and get moving. He pours the coffee, she pours the coffee, but there's a routine. And it's exact almost. Well, that's the same with our life. You can almost write a book on what we do. Now let's take a look at the areas of your life that paradigm is in control of. Now it would be really wise to pay very close attention here because this is super important. Paradigms control your perception. Perception is a mental faculty. Animals do not have perception, humans do. Perception is one of the higher faculties that we've got. If I have a particular challenge that I'm faced with, I have an exercise that helps me shift my perception. It helps me change how I look at something. I will take and write the problem down in as much detail as I can, and so clear that if I were to give it to somebody else, they would see exactly what I see. So I get the picture in my mind, and I paint it with words. I will take that written out, and if you try this, you'll find it'll work like unadulterated magic. Put it in the center of your desk or a table. I do it in my studio, or I'll do it in my dining room. And I'll get and sit down and I'll look at it. Then I'll say, now, is that problem in me or is it in the paper? I will work at getting it out of me and getting it on the paper. So I'm not going to relate to it as something that's in control of me. When I get it on the paper, then I'll look at it until I think I understand it. Then I'll go and sit on the other side of the table, literally, physically get up and go and move. And I'll look at it and I'll say, how would Earl Nightingale look at that? And mentally I'll play with that for a bit. Then I'll go sit somebody else and I'll say, how would Napoleon Hill look at that? Now these people don't have to be alive. Okay? If you've studied them, you know their energy. And how would he look? Then you go sit somewhere else. And I may move around the table to half a dozen places. How would they look at that? And you know something? Pretty soon that problem's not a problem at all. I not only solved it, it's become fairly simple to solve. Perception is a mental faculty. Yet it's being controlled by your paradigm. Yet controls how you look at things. When you go to talk to a person about your opportunity, understand they've got a paradigm and they are controlled how they're going to see your industry. Most people don't understand your industry. They really don't. You think they do, because they've heard it, but they don't understand it at all. I'll tell you a good exercise. Ask them when they say, no, they don't really like it. Say, could you explain it to me? Ask them if they can explain how your company works. And they probably can't. Then say, you know, I learned something really valuable. Anything we don't understand, we have a tendency to criticize and ridicule. Now think of that, because that's true. Your paradigm controls your use of time. Do you know that every one of us get exactly the same amount of time? We get all there is. No one gets any more than anyone else. Your paradigm controls everything. It also controls your creativity. You'll see some people are not creative and others are. That's not true. Everybody's creative. You're created in God's image. Our problem is we got that reversed and we created God in our image. You are a creative being. You are truly a creative being. You can take these higher faculties that all the other forms of life don't have, and you can create something. This company is a creation. That's the manifestation of an image. Your paradigm controls your effectiveness because it controls what you do, how you do it. Yet, of course, your effectiveness is going to dictate your productivity. How productive are you? Now, some people, you just watch them, they just ratchet ahead. They don't really work very hard, but man, do they move. They're going at warp speed. Now get this, your paradigm controls your logic. This is huge. You'll have people say, well, you've got to be realistic. Or they could say, that's illogical. Wonder what the neighbors thought of the Wright brothers, a couple of bicycle mechanics over in Dayton, Ohio. A little over 100 years ago. They must have been considered right out of their mind. Do you know their father was a bishop in some Reformed church? He told them they were going to burn in hell for suggesting they could fly. True. Now think. How often does logic stop you? Well, that's not realistic. If you can think it, you can do it when you think. And of course, it controls your ability to earn money. You see, one of the first things I'll ask, as I mentioned, is what's the most you've ever earned in a year? I don't really care what the answer is, but I want to know the answer. I will get a read on you just like that, where your paradigm's at. Now, if you're sitting down with somebody, the most they've ever earned is about $45,000 a year, I would recommend you don't start to talk to them about earning $1 million in a hurry, because you're going to lose them right away. See, if you're earning more, what's something you really like, you know? Maybe talk about a car or a trip or something that they could relate to. But you see, most people really don't understand money. All the money in the world is available to us. All we have to do is earn it. And working happens to be the very worst way to earn money. It's true. Listen, this guy studied 500 of the world's most successful people. And he pointed out in here, if you believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, Paris has thought it's not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. That's all by law. There is no end to what you can earn. None. Now, paradigms keeps you boxed in all of those areas. It's just like there's a box around us. And every time we go to change, we hit the wall. And it doesn't happen. When you make up your mind, you're going to change the paradigm, the wall comes down. But I'm going to tell you something. That doesn't mean you're going to change right away. You make a decision, I'm changing this, that wall will come down. Then you'll be in a position to start moving, and the wall is down. You're not bouncing off it anymore. When you say, I'm going to change this, now someone in here today, hopefully everybody, is going to make a decision, I'm changing that. This conference is going to be a turning point in my life. Now think, you spent money and you took time. Some of you traveled a long way. Make certain this is a turning point. And when you say, I'm going to change, just think of this. The change can be huge, absolutely huge. And the change is permanent. You will never go back. You see, awareness is something you cannot lose. Most of us, when we're thinking of learning, we get hooked up on school stuff, and it's the intellect we're thinking of. Because that's what school focuses on, the intellect. If you get the degree, you've learned it. If you get this, you've learned it. Why are there so many people with degrees come right off their business card that don't know the war's over? They're losing. That's not in the intellect, it's in the awareness. Think of this. A person isn't earning $100,000 a year because they want $100,000 a year. They're earning $100,000 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $100,000 a month. When you help develop their awareness, it's something they won't lose. Like a baby is not aware of the difference between a woman and a man. Baby's not aware of the difference in a female and a male. That is something a baby has to become aware. They have to learn that. And when the baby develops the awareness, they never lose it. That'll help you understand the difference between awareness and intellect. When you become aware of how your paradigm is controlling you and then how to change it, there's no end to where you can go or what you can do. None. Now, let's suppose that's the only thing you change as a result of this conference. You're going to change your perception of this business. You're going to change your perception of you in this business. You're never going to look at this company and your position in it the same way again. You're going to see this as a vehicle that will take you anywhere you want to go, and there's nothing can stop you. Do you know about 66% of what I'm saying you will have forgotten by tomorrow morning? It's true. 90 to 100% you'll probably leave within a month. That's the way our memory works. Can you learn it? Absolutely you can. If you don't remember anything, remember this. Change your perception. Change the way you look at this business. And don't listen to anybody that's telling you something about this business that is an already leader in the business, earning themselves millions. Okay? I was on the fire department when I started to study this. It was the best job I'd ever had. I was earning $100 a week, $400 a month. When I got that job, I was earning $48 a week working in a service station, changing tires, filling up gas, greasing cars. And I went from earning $50 a week to $100 a week. And then I get into that book. And I decided I was going to quit the fire department. I was the second person since 1934 to quit that fire department. Nobody ever quit. And they couldn't fire you. The chief every day would call me and he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to clean offices." He said, "Bob, you're crazy." "No." "Well, you know, you can't come back when you quit. You can't come back." I said, "I know." He said, "Why are you doing this?" Well, I said, I've got a dream. I'm reading a book and it's teaching me how to do stuff. Let me tell you the bizarre part of this. I started cleaning one office, $15 a time to wash the floor. Then I got another office, $65 a month. Now I'm up to $100 a month. Do you know, I got it up that I was earning $14,500 a month, and I was afraid to quit the fire department. The chief was only earning $11,500 a year. I was earning $14,500 a month. Yet I was afraid to quit. Part of the paradigm was there's security in this job. There's no security in a job. There's no security outside of yourself. If you haven't got it inside, you haven't got it. In less than 5 years, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. I was earning a lot of money, well over $1 million a year. They all thought I was crazy when I quit. But when I got it up over $1 million, they didn't think I was so crazy anymore. When you do what you're doing, your friends, relatives, they're going to think you're crazy. You cannot afford to listen to them. They mean well. They really do. They want to help you. They don't want to hurt you. But they're trying to talk you out of what you're doing because they don't understand it. When you change your perception, your income will change dramatically. And you know something? It'll never go back. So basic and so misunderstood. The truth is, you truly can create your own economy. You don't have to depend on what the government's doing. Don't be too concerned what they're saying. What they're saying today is going to be what they're saying tomorrow. Listen, during the Great Depression of the 30s, there was people earning millions of dollars. Yet in the very worst economy, there's people earning millions of dollars. Yet in the very best economy, there's people that don't know how to get out of bed. They're losing. It's inside. It's in your attitude. It's in your way of thinking. It's your perception of this business. Build it big in your mind and then go and execute it. It's so basic and so simple. We miss it. To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. And if you're not willing and able to change your paradigm, forget it. You're not going to go very far. Now, Ray sat down with me and he said, Bob, let that R represent results. Then he said, let that represent happiness, health, and wealth. Then he asked me if I thought he was a happy guy, and I said, yeah, he seemed pretty happy to me, and he did. He's a great, big, happy guy. He said, have you ever seen me when I was sick? And I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I was broke? And again, I had to admit I hadn't. Well, he proceeded to tell me he thought I was one of the most miserable people he had ever met. And he said, you're always sick. You don't have a terminal illness, but you always got something wrong with you. And he said, you're always broke. Now, he was being kind. I was actually earning $4,000 a year, as I mentioned, but I owed $6,000. So, I mean, it was like an impossible situation. I just couldn't see my way out of it. He said, do you ever read anything? Now, I heard Jenna in a recording say that leaders are readers. And I've heard that before. Remember Charlie Tremendous Jones? He's gone now, but he was a great speaker. That's what he used to always say. And that's when Ray introduced me to this book. Then he told me the story about the book. And it's a pretty interesting story. And he said, if you'll study that, there's no end to what you can do. Absolutely none. I said, I don't expect you to understand what I'm telling you. But he said, listen, my way's working, yours isn't. I think that's the first time he really reached me. He said, my way's working, yours isn't. This guy always had a roll of money on him. Now it's all I was interested in, is getting some money. I figured if I had some money, all my problems would go away. Because everybody's phoning me, where the hell's the money? You know, and I thought if I knew where the money was, you wouldn't have to phone me. Well, within a year, I was earning $14,500 a month. Now, if you annualize that, that's 175. I hadn't earned 175, but I was earning $14,500 a month in 1 year, from 4,000 to that. You can do that in this business. You can do that starting today. You really can. Everybody knows that.